Oniai-chan. More sweets please. Ilya requested. Me too. Kuro said as well. I want some as well, Miyu said. I need a refill on tea too, Saitonai said. Alright, Shirou said as he went into the kitchen to prepare and get more cookies, cakes, tarts, and many more sweets. Right now, Shirou was in a tea party with Ilya, Saitonai, Kuro, Miyu, Jack the Ripper, Nursery Rhyme, Abigail, and Jean d'Arc Alter Santa Lily in Chaldea's cafeteria. He was in charge with preparing the tea and sweets for the little servants for the whole day. As Shirou brought over the tea and sweets for the servants, he thought back to the events that brought him here. Man, Ilya and the others sure got me this time, he thought. A few hours earlier, Shirou was walking down Chaldea's hallway, minding his own business, when suddenly, he felt a pair of hands hugging him on the back. Oniai-chan. Shirou recognized that voice and turned around to see Ilya. Ilya? What is it? He asked. Oniai-chan. Can you come to today's tea party with Saitonai, Kuro, Miyu, and my friends? Ilya asked as she released Shirou from her hug. Tea party? Yeah. It's going to be fun. Ilya exclaimed excitedly. Shirou thought about it and said, I don't know, Ilya. Please? But dash. Please? She said with puppy eyes. As soon as Shirou saw Ilya's puppy eyes, Shirou immediately felt his resistance weaken. No matter how many times he has seen that face, he still cannot resist Ilya's puppy eyes look. Oh root, there it is. The puppy eyes. I swear, I need to improve on my resistance to those type of eyes. And not just from Ilya, but also from Saber as well when she wants food. But still. After a few moments of silence, Shirou reluctantly agreed. Okay, he said. Yes. Ilya exclaimed excitedly as she tugged on Shirou's arm. Now come on. You don't want to keep them waiting. She then dragged him to the cafeteria. Over there, Shirou saw Saitonai, Kuro, and Miyu along with some other servants that he doesn't know yet on the table eating sweets and drinking tea. Ah. Oniai-chan. Saitonai, Kuro, and Miyu said in happiness. Have you decided to join us? Why yeah. Shirou said nervously. Ilya, who are they? He said as he noticed the 4 other girls in the cafeteria. Oh, I forgot. Let me introduce you to them, Oniai-chan. Ilya replied as she left Shirou's side. The girl with the black hat and twin tails is Nursery Rhyme. The girl with the black hat and orange bow ties is Abigail Williams. The girl in the black robes is Jack the Ripper. The girl wearing green is Paul Bunyan. And finally, the girl with the silver headpiece is Jean d'Arc Alter Santa Lily. For a small moment, there was silence in the cafeteria until Ilya gestured them to introduce each other. Huh? Oh, I'm Emiya Shirou. Ilya's, Saitonai's, Kuro's, and Miyu's older brother. Nice to meet you 4. Eh? Oh. Nice to meet you too, Mr. Shirou. Abigail said. Yeah. Nice to meet you too. Nursery Rhyme replied as well. Nice to meet you too, Mr. Shirou. Paul Bunyan said. Nice to meet you too, Jack said in a soft tone. Yeah. Nice to meet you too, Mr. Shirou, Jean d'Arc Alter Santa Lily said. Back to the present. Man. This is not how I would expect to spend an afternoon in Chaldea like this. Of course, this is coming from someone who spends his afternoons cooking up meals for a bunch of servants. But still though, never thought to meet Jack the Ripper, Abigail Williams, Nursery Rhyme, Paul Bunyan, and apparently a small variation of Jean d'Arc today. Also, who would have ever thought that Jack the Ripper wasn't a man at all, but rather a small little girl? Geez, if London finds out about this, then they'll be having a fit that one of their most heinous criminals was a little girl this whole time. Shirou thought as he made more cookies for the tea party. As he looked at the group of girls having fun, he smiled at how happy Emiya was, and her other versions as well. Well, at least Emiya made friends in Chaldea, along with her alternate selves, and my sister from an alternate universe. As Shirou was looking at the group of girls, the timer dinged, signaling that the cookies were ready. Ah. They're done now. Shirou then wore some mittens, pulled the oven door down, and grabbed the baking tray filled with cookies from the oven. Smells good, he thought as he took a whiff at the cookies. He then placed the cookies on a cooling rack while he prepared some tea. I'm sorry Emiya, but the cookies will take some time to cool down. Do you mind? He asked. No problem Oniai-chan. Thanks. In the meanwhile, enjoy cupcakes and tea. Shirou then brought over small plates of slices of cakes and a teacup set for the girls. As he placed it down on the table, the girls were in awe at how beautiful the cakes and teacup set looked. Wow! This looks amazing. Emiya said. Yeah. Oniai-chan really outdid himself this time, Kuro said with a gaze filled with hunger. No kidding. Looking at this is making me hungry already, Saitonai said. Me too, Miyu admitted with a blush. Wah, this looks good to eat. Abigail said with a drool coming out of her mouth. I want to eat them now, Jean Dark Altar, Santa Lily said. Me too, Nursery Rhyme said. We three, Jack the Ripper said. Me four. Paul Bunyan said. Shirou smiled at the compliments. Well then, shall we eat? The entire group then started to dig into the cakes and tea. As Emiya, Kuro, Saitonai, Miyu, Nursery Rhyme, Abigail, Jack, and Jean Dark Altar Santa Lily bit into the cakes, their faces went up into joy as they savored the taste of the assorted cakes and tea. Wah! So delicious! Emiya said. Obviously. This is Oniai-chan's cooking we're talking about. Kuro said with a mouthful of cake. How long has it been since we've tasted Oniai-chan's cooking? Saitonai said as she took a piece of cake. Too long I think, Miyu said as she sipped her tea. Wow, your brother's cooking is way good. Abigail said as she took a bite of her cake. Yes. I wish to have more cake from him. Nursery replied happily. Me too. Jean Dark Altar, Santa Lily said, we three. Jack said. Me four. Paul said. As the group continued their tea party, the girls were chatting about what was going on in Chaldea. Some chats include what was going in their personal lives, some include the quests and singularities Ritsuko went, some of the shenanigans that occurs once every while, some of the daily events, and many more. During this time, Shirou then went back to the kitchen counter to check on the cookies and started making more sweets. Of course, this wasn't limited to other people as well as the girls started talking about Shirou. So Emiya, Kuro, Saitonai, Miyu, what does your Oniai-chan does? Abigail asked. HM? Oh. What Oniai-chan does is that he works in Chaldea's cafeteria along with a bunch of other servants as well. Not only that, but he also helps Master fix singularities as well as go on missions with him. Really? What class is he? Nursery asked. He's a saber class. The best class. Kuro exclaimed happily. Wow. He must be really strong then. Jean Dark Altar, Santa Lily said. Not just that. He's also nice as well and is a good cook, Miyu said with a smile. Really? Jack said with wonder. Yup, Saitonai said with a proud face. As the conversation about Shirou continued, it reached to a point where one could say it got really crazy. All because Paul Bunyan asked a question that raised many questions. Hey Emiya? Abigail asked. What is it, Paul? Emiya replied. Do you like your brother? Emiya immediately blushed at the question. What? Why are you asking me this? Just wondering. That is all. It's nothing like that at all. Abigail then let out a small smug grin. So, you don't like your brother then? That's not what I meant. Emiya yelled with a blush. Is everything okay over there? Shirou asked. Everything is fine, Oniai-chan. Emiya said, trying to keep the conversation under control. How about you, Kuro? Me? Well, I like Oniai-chan, even though this version is not our version, Kuro said with a smile. And you, Miyu? Miyu didn't say anything, but a blush appeared on her face. Is that a yes? Miyu nodded. What about you, Saitonai? Me? Well, I do like him. So, it's settled then. All of you like Shirou then, even though you're all his little sisters. Emiya blushed at the thought of that. I told you, it's nothing like that. But you know, Oniai-chan's quite sinful. Kuro said with a smirk. What do you mean? Nursery asked. Isn't it obvious? Oniai-chan's got 4 little girls loving him. And that's not only it. He's also got multiple versions of Rin, Livia, and his kohai from high school in the same boat as well. I think her name was Sakura, wasn't it, Miyu? Yes, Miyu replied. Wow, Jean Dark said. Yeah, and it's not over yet. What do you mean? Jack asked. Saitonai let out a sigh. Let me tell you this. If getting Oniai-chan's affections were a competition, then the biggest obstacle wouldn't be Rin or Sakura or Livia. Then who? Then it was both Emiya and Miyu's turn to let out a sigh. Apparently, the King of Knights known as King Arthur was a woman and apparently had a master/servant relationship in their version of the Holy Grail War. Not only that, but they also fell in love together, Emiya said as she sipped on her tea. Wow. That sounds tough, Abigail said. Yeah. And the worst part? Her alternate versions feel the same way about Oniai-chan too, Miyu said with a pout. And King Arthur apparently has a lot of alternate versions of herself as well. Really? How many? Nursery asked. Well, probably enough to make Chaldea go on daily restocks of the kitchen every day after each mealtime, Saitonai said. Nursery, Abigail, Jack, Paul, and Jean Dark Altar Santa Lily were in shock at what Saitonai just said. Wow. That many? Jack asked. Yup, Saitonai said. Man. That sounds tough, Jean Dark Altar Santa Lily said. No kidding. The thought of that many girls interested in my Oniai-chan is just crazy. I mean seriously, he doesn't act like a playboy unlike some other servants, and yet the girls just want him. Even my mom is on this as well. How so? Paul asked. Well, once she tried to give pictures of Oniai-chan to the girls. Nursery, Abigail, Jack, Paul, and Jean Dark Altar Santa Lily's eyes went big as they tried to process this information. No way, they exclaimed. Yeah, Emiya said with a sigh. What for? Abigail asked. Apparently Mama wants grandkids soon, so she's trying to hook him up with one of the girls, Kuro said with a sigh. Wow. Sounds like he needs to be castrated, Jack said. Emiya and Miyu's faces had a blush when they heard that line, considering that they heard that line coming from their version of Irisville, from their world. Anyway. Let's end this conversation before dash. Emiya, Kuro, Saitonai, Miyu, Nursery, Abigail, Jack, Paul, Jean Dark Altar Santa Lily, do you all want some cookies and sweets? Shirou called out from the kitchen. Yes, they all exclaimed, forgetting what Jack said earlier. Shirou then brought out the cookies and sweets from the kitchen and placed it on the table they were sitting at. As the group of girls bit into the cookies and sweets, like before, their faces were in joy over how good it was. Emiya, Kuro, Saitonai, and Miyu kept eating the cookies while Nursery, Abigail, Jack, Paul, and Jean Dark were enjoying the sweets, and Shirou was enjoying the tea. Eventually, all the sweets and tea were gone, ending the tea party. Well, today seems like a fun day, Nursery said with a smile. Yeah. And we get to learn about Mr. Shirou, Abigail replied. Shall we continue this next week? Jack asked. Yeah. Jean Dark Alter, Santa Lily replied with a smile. I agree with that, Paul said with a smile. Well, Oniai-chan, do you like the tea party? Emiya asked. Yeah, Shirou said with a smile. Well then, the next time whenever me and my friends have a tea party, will you come? Kuro asked. Yes. Promise? Miyu asked. Yes. Pinky promise? Saitonai asked while holding up her pinky. Shirou let out a small sigh before doing the same. Pinky promise, he said. Saitonai smiled. Good. Oh, by the way, me, Emiya, Kuro, and Miyu have something for you. What is it? Emiya, Saitonai, Kuro, and Miyu proceeded to bring something from their pockets, which were flower crowns. Are these flower crowns? Shirou asked. Yes, they exclaimed. What for? For helping around in Chaldea, obviously. Emiya said. And for cooking delicious food for everyone. Kuro said. And for giving everyone happiness. Saitonai said. And for being the best Oniai-chan. Miyu said. Shirou smiled at his little sister's work. Thank you, he said. You're welcome, they replied. Well then, see you next time. Shirou and the group of girls then went on their separate ways. Shirou went alone in one direction while Emiya went with Kuro, Saitonai, and Miyu in another direction, and Nursery, Abigail, Jack, Paul, and Jean Dark Alter Santa Lily went in another direction separate from the two. Wasn't today fun? Nursery asked. Yep. Abigail replied in a cheery tone. I know, right? Paul said with a smile. Best tea party ever. Who would have ever known that Emiya's, Kuro's, Saitonai's, and Miyu's big brother would be good at cooking? How about you, Jack? Jean Dark Alter, Santa Lily asked. Jack didn't say a thing. Jack? I think we found a new mommy. Was all Jack said. Everyone else was quiet at what Jack just said. Meanwhile, Shirou was wearing the flower crowns on his head around Chaldea. And everyone found it cute. Especially the Arturias, Rins, Sakuras, Astria, and Irisville.